When I'm thinking of preparing episodes for the Get Pregnant Naturally podcast, I really want to create episodes that make you think and kind of go, wait a minute, this could be me. And so today's episode, we're talking about acne. And this is for both partners. So for you and your partner, if either of you is experiencing acne, this could be a clue as to why your hormones are not balanced and then leading potentially to infertility. So to me, the skin is a direct reflection of the health of your gut. And really, if you've got acne, and this is something that I struggled with in my early teens, great skin, all of a sudden, early 20s, I started getting acne. It turned into cystic acne for a little while. Not tons of it, but it was always on my chin. But still, if you have acne, it is not fun to deal with. I tried everything and nothing worked until I made those foundational changes that we use in our functional fertility program, and really looking at diet, looking at lifestyle, using functional testing to kind of figure out, well, why the heck is this there to begin with? Lo and behold, the acne clears up. So I wanted to really dig into this episode. So if you have acne, your partner has acne, let's listen in and see how we can start to reverse this and really how this helps with your preconception health. And feel free to leave a review on iTunes. Hey there, I regularly speak with 5 to 10 couples per week who are struggling to have their baby. And although we want to help everyone, we only have 2 spots available per month to work with us. So the Supercharge Your Fertility Discovery call is for action takers, and really people who are ready to move forward so they can finally have their baby. And if you're not ready and you wait, the risk is you'll need to wait 2 to 3 months for a spot to open up. So if you're seriously considering working with us, go to Fab Fertile, FABfertile.com, and click on book a free call. Then you'll be all booked in and ready to spend 30 minutes to give you the action plan to getting pregnant naturally. That's Fab Fertile, FABfertile.com, and click on book a free call.
And when you're on the pill, you're not going to be making any, really. If you're not ovulating, you're not making it. So we need these hormones for way more functions in the body than just for reproduction. So flatlining your hormones on the pill is really not a long-term solution.
Welcome to Get Pregnant Naturally, where functional medicine and natural fertility solutions will help you get pregnant and have your baby. Hey everyone, I'm Sarah Clark, and my mission is to inspire, motivate, and empower you. Most of all, I want you to wake up. So with functional medicine, we can discover what causes infertility and eventually reverse the condition. Today, I'm welcoming Brooke Venables to the podcast, and we're digging into the connection between acne and infertility. Brooke graduated from the Australian Institute of Holistic Medicine in 2005 and has been specializing in skin and hormones for the past 8 years. She has experience working in technical support for fellow practitioners in some of prestigious multidisciplinary clinics and oversees alongside doctors and dermatologists. Brooke is committed to ongoing professional development and is passionate about empowering and educating women in their skin and hormonal health so they can achieve confidence, vitality, and change their lives for the better. She works with clients worldwide one-on-one. You can check out her website at clearskincoach.co. And before we jump into today's show, don't forget to hit the subscribe button on iTunes or wherever you're listening to this to make sure you never miss an episode. Hey, Brooke, excited to have you on the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me, Sarah.
Yeah, all the way from Perth, right? In Australia.
Perth, Australia. That's right.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've been to Cairn and Brisbane. I don't know if I pronounced that Cairn right there, but Cairn, Brisbane, and Sydney.
Cairns, yeah. Okay, so that's the East Coast. I'm on the other side of the country, which is pretty vast. Yeah,
that's right. I know, it's kind of like Canada. Like, oh, I'm in Toronto. Like, oh no, Toronto, Vancouver. It's a
long way from each other. Yeah,
exactly. So, can you share with everyone how you came to do this work?
So I've been a practicing naturopath since 2005, but to really hone in and specialize in skin and hormones, there was a personal journey, which I think is such a common story with practitioners. So I've had a personal experience with acne in my 20s, and also quite debilitating period pain. So I really can empathize with clients on how that impacts your life, how it impacts your confidence. I've lived it and experienced it. So I think that's a big driving force into getting me into this specialty area, and really helping other women who are experiencing the same kind of issues with hormones and skin to really thrive. So I think that personal experience has been a big driving force.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I really wanted to bring this conversation to the podcast and have you on to talk about, because I think a lot of times people, when they're going through infertility, we get stuck on the infertility diagnosis, and then we don't look at the other things that are going on in the body. And for me, I had like great skin in my teens, then all of a sudden, in my early 20s, I started getting acne in the chin area. And and this, I remember in my wedding at 25, my I didn't really have that much acne on the wedding, but my chin was like so super greasy. It was crazy. And then,
oh gosh, perfect timing.
exactly. And then I had these irregular periods, and then I was diagnosed with premature ovarian failure, and I had both my kids with donor eggs. Yeah, so it was really, so I wanted to bring this conversation about, like, if you've got something going on with your skin,
yes,
this conversation that we're talking about acne, really any skin conditions, that is a huge clue for us to dig further. So what would be the connection with acne, other skin problems, and infertility as far as hormone balance?
Yeah, sure. So exactly what you just touched on then is that acne is a red flag from the body that something's up. Something needs to be understood better. It's like a little sign that something is out of balance. So I think it's a really good little sign from our body that we should listen to, actually, rather than just suppress it, but try to understand it, what is going on a deeper level. There are definitely parallels to be drawn with contributing factors between fertility challenges and acne. And that doesn't mean to say that if you have acne that you're going to experience fertility challenges at all, or vice versa. But there are definitely some common links there with causes. And I think the biggest thing there is that with both conditions, when you are truly understanding them and you are treating them holistically and functionally, you're treating the whole body. And when you're treating the whole body, you're going to be optimizing all aspects of health. So that's going to mean potentially increasing progesterone levels, reducing stress, improving nutritional status, reducing inflammation in the body. All of these things are going to contribute to optimizing your health and improve fertility as well as your skin and that whole hormonal picture.
Absolutely. So as you say, it's a red flag and to dig deeper.
Definitely. Yes. And it helps us to put the bits of the puzzle together a little bit better.
Absolutely. And so for conventional treatments for acne, and myself and yourself, we both experienced it. And so for me, I went and did, well, first, we'll talk about that in a little bit, but I was put on the birth control pill, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, but that didn't do anything for my acne. It still stayed the same. And then I used every last kind of potion and lotion, cream, and scrub that I could think to help with this. I used Proactive, dried all my skin out. A lot of times, like some of the ones that we look at are antibiotics, that Accutane, and birth control. So yeah, the conventional route. Can you kind of talk about that a little?
Yeah, for sure. So I think that there is always a place for Western medicine. Antibiotics in particular has saved lives. However, it is so overprescribed, and so is Accutane as well. And they are not without their risk and potentially really harmful side effects, especially with Accutane. I mean, it's linked with depression, birth defects. It's been shown to lower your cortisol levels as well, so it can actually start impacting your hormones. And I think although, yes, they're there as a last resort, but it's really important to know that it can be done. You can heal your acne in a different way. So there are other ways to do it that are going to be working with your body, not against it. And essentially, those medications are going to be Band-Aids. They're not treating the root cause or understanding why it's happening. And so often I will see clients that have been on rounds and rounds of medication, and it just keeps returning because the root cause, those causative factors have not been addressed.
Absolutely. I remember going to see the dermatologist, and they were, again, recommended, I can't remember what it was at this stage, but some creams, and then going to see an esthetician, and they were doing all those, deep cleansing and all this sort of stuff, which none of it worked until I changed my diet. And
absolutely. It's such an inside job predominantly. I think tackling it externally with the right type of care at the same time as looking at the internal is what's going to optimize your results for sure.
Okay, so how do we know if we have hormonal acne? So for me, I had it on my chin. So what if we maybe places and what?
Sure. Yeah. So in particular, if we're seeing acne on the chin, the jawline, the neck, it can show us that testosterone is being converted at a much higher rate than it should, down the 5-alpha pathway to DHT, which is dihydrotestosterone. Now, that's the culprit for increased sebaceous gland activity in the skin. And it can also cause male pattern balding and excess hair growth in different areas that we don't want it to be. So that can be a bit of an indicator of what's going on there. Definitely, if you're seeing fluctuations in your skin throughout your throughout your cycle, so around ovulation time or premenstrually, that can be a good indication if you're noticing that it clears up after your period and then it starts to ramp back up again before your period. But ultimately, with distribution of sebaceous glands, it's determined by genetic. So, some people will get severe back acne and nothing on their face ever, and other people are the opposite of that. So a lot of that can come down to genetics and where your sebaceous glands are distributed throughout the body.
Yeah, that was the case for my husband. So he had it on his back, and then
okay,
yeah, and this is
really common for men. Common for men. Yeah.
And then for him it all cleared up, and my daughter seems to be the chin and jawline, but she's dairy and gluten free and working on gut infections. So yeah.
Very good. You're on the right track there for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
I know she would be going a different way if we didn't do through this route.
It's great you understand it.
Exactly. Yeah. And so cystic acne. So that's so I had, I guess regular acne for many years, and then it went into that, not a lot of it, but it was definitely those huge, cystic acne where
those really painful guys. Mm-hmm. And it was it can be really uncomfortable. Yeah,
I wanted to put a bag on my head because I'm like, I felt like everyone was looking at
I know. Oh, you poor thing. Yeah, it can really, really destroy self-confidence, right? It's not just a physical condition, but it really does affect people on an emotional level as well.
And is that more hormonal, or what are you seeing for that type?
Cystic type, again, I would often, it would be a little red flag for me to look at what's going on with testosterone. So which pathway is that going down? Is it ramping up that DHT? But also that can come down to skin immunity. So have you got the right optimum levels of nutrients that are really supportive of healing the skin and fighting infection? So what's your immune system doing? What's your gut health looking like? There are definitely other bits of the puzzle there too.
Absolutely. Yeah. And anyone listening, and this is the case for me, my immune system was a disaster because I had these chronic bladder infections, chronic yeast infections, chronic sinus infections. I took all these antibiotics. I was on the pill for years. And this is I tell my story a lot, but it is also with I'm seeing this regularly with clients too, people that have experienced acne in their teens, and then it has kind of gone away, but then they're struggling with infertility years later.
Definitely. Yeah. So common to see acne in your teens because, hormones are fluctuating, your cycle is maturing. But I'm seeing more and more these days that acne is still prevalent in 20s and 30s, and I think a lot of that can come down to, what's happened in that hormonal picture. So have they been on the pill for 10 years and they've just come off and they're having a rebound effect, or what else is going on here? So it's sort of changing a little bit. We're seeing a lot more adult acne these days.
Yeah, let's talk about the pill and kind of that approach and what you're seeing there.
Sure. Another medication that is really commonly prescribed for acne. The reason that it does tend to clear your skin while you're taking it is because it flatlines your hormones. So if your hormones are out of whack and they are feeding into this acne cycle, then flatlining them is going to calm it down a lot of the time. However, it is stopping that communication between your brain and your ovaries to cause ovulation. And we need ovulation to produce adequate levels of progesterone. Progesterone, I always spoke as your happy, calm, and clear skin hormone. We can't get enough of it, basically. It's a really, really important hormone. And when you're on the pill, you're not going to be making any, really. If you're not ovulating, you're not making it. So we need these hormones for way more functions in the body than just for reproduction. So flatlining your hormones on the pill is really not a long-term solution. And I do see acne return sometimes with a vengeance after women come off the pill. Often transitioning off the pill to get into that preconception phase and start trying for a baby. And, they're getting these rebound androgen effects, and their skin can be much worse than what it was to begin with. And sometimes it will just aggravate acne out of nowhere. And so people maybe didn't even have acne to begin with. So yeah, there are definitely other ways to do it. There are other forms of contraception if that's what you're looking at. And there are other ways to get your hormones looking healthier, working with your body, not against it.
Yeah, and really that's the Band-Aid. So if you have acne and being prescribed the pill, that's not really getting to the root cause. And we see this
exactly.
When I talk to women that are struggling with infertility, and when I ask if they've been on the pill, and many of them are on it for long-term use, that they don't go on for prevention. They go on because they had either acne or they had irregular periods or they had heavy periods.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It's so much more of a suppression than a solution. It's not treating it from the ground up by any means.
Yeah. And then is it the chicken or the egg? Because it's actually taking hormonal birth control can also impact the health of your gut too.
Absolutely. Yes. And, we know that gut health plays an integral role in skin health as well. And I think it's been easy to compartmentalize the pill as just affecting hormones or just for contraception or just for skin. In actuality, it does affect all aspects of health. So it can deplete a lot of your nutrients and it can affect your gut health. There are a lot of long-term side effects that can be a repercussion of taking the pill as well.
And so now how do we balance our hormones to improve acne? And I know I found you on Instagram from Dr. Carrie Jones, who I follow, and so she had recommended you, and you use the Dutch test. We had Dr. Carrie Jones on there. She's the director of Precision Analytical. And
that is a huge compliment, because I have learned so much from Dr. Carrie Jones. She's amazing. I've done many of her workshops and courses, and she came out to Perth year before last for a seminar, which was amazing. So yes, the Dutch testing is revolutionary in this field. So the dried urine test for comprehensive hormones, I use a lot with my clients. And this really just gives me so much information about what their bodies are doing in terms of making, using, and metabolizing hormones. So with dried urine, you can see metabolites of hormones. So you're not just looking at the straight up levels, you're looking at the pathways which they're going down. So it's a really comprehensive test in order to see what's going on for you as an individual. Acne is not a pigeonholed condition. Everyone's picture is going to look different. Their contributing factors are going to be different. So testing is really going to personalize your treatment plan. And I think it's helpful to know that hormones are like little chemicals in your body that are constantly reacting and responding to your environment, what you eat, what you do, and even what you think. So a lot of the time, it's quite simple lifestyle interventions will be really helpful in changing that picture, that are easy to implement. So that could be, your morning routine, so getting sunlight in your eyes if we're trying to improve your cortisol awakening response, for example. Or it could mean moving your body more, or sleeping better, or self-care. So what are you doing to manage stress? And then also, depending on what pathways need support, there are certain nutrients and herbal medicines that can really help to optimize those pathways to work more work a lot better and work more functionally.
Yeah, we use the Dutch testing as part of our couples coaching program. We do food sensitivity testing, and we do an elimination diet, and we do the Dutch test to really see what's happening with your hormones. And then we do the GI map test, and then we do a hair tissue mineral. So kind of really dig into.
Yeah, fantastic. That's really comprehensive. I think it's important because everyone's so different.
Absolutely. And so anything that you're kind of commonly seeing on the Dutch with people with acne, or obviously with infertility, it's probably the same thing. It's different for everyone, or any kind of patterns that you're seeing?
Yeah, you're right. It is, it's different for everyone, but I would say, a common picture would be what I discussed earlier about that testosterone favoring the 5-alpha pathway, which is going to increase your oil production in the skin. But sometimes that's not an issue at all. Sometimes it is low progesterone or poor clearance of estrogens, or it can be that your stress hormones are totally out of whack. There's a different picture for everyone, really. But I would say if there were two things that were really predominant in an acne client, I would say the testosterone pathway and low progesterone would be two really major things to work on.
And then, so let's dig into the diet piece. What are your recommendations look like?
Yeah, sure. So that again will be different for everyone according to their needs. But I think it's important to know that diet is a big piece of the puzzle, but it's not everything. Mm-hmm. I have a lot of people come to me with acne and they say, I've tried this, I've tried that, I'm on gluten-free and dairy-free and sugar-free, but I'm still breaking out. And they feel like they're doing everything, but it's really just one piece of the puzzle. There's no magic bullet. It does take assessing all aspects of health. However, there are a couple of things that I would say across the board to every acne client. And that first one would be really reducing your polyunsaturated fatty acids. So these are your processed plant oils that are high in omega-6. Omega-6 can be quite inflammatory in the body, and it can really change the pH and oxidize the sebum in the skin and proliferate that acne bacteria. We're usually looking for a 1-to-1 ratio of omega-3, which is anti-inflammatory, to omega-6, which is inflammatory. And in a typical Western diet, we've got way, way, way too much omega-6 going on. So think of all your processed foods, anything that comes in a packet, even if it's organic and gluten-free, it can still have sunflower oil or canola oil, which is high in these polyunsaturated fatty acids. That would be a big one across the board because we're always trying to reduce inflammation and improve the quality of the sebum in the skin, because we want that sebum. It's protective, it's hydrating. We just don't want it to be in overdrive or the nature of it changing. Sugar would be another one. So sugar can be really inflammatory. It causes a spike in insulin, which then increases your insulin-like growth factor. And that's a big factor in acne because it increases skin cell turnover and also increases sebum production at the same time. So recipe for congestion. And the other thing would be to really focus on quality protein and quality fat in the diet. So these two macronutrients are super important for maintaining consistent levels of blood sugar. Protein is going to provide the building blocks for tissue repair and healing. And fat, again, is going to nourish every cell membrane in the body and get your cellular function looking a lot better. And if it's high in omega-3, which we just discussed, then it's going to be anti-inflammatory as well. So they would be probably my most common tips regarding diet. But like I said, everyone is different. And I always run blood work to begin with my clients to check on nutritional status, and then we go from there.
Right. And also I think chicken can be high in omega-6. A lot of times we're in this big, people have reduced their red meat consumption, and then chicken consumption's gone through the roof, which is high in omega-6. And we're like, we're having all this lean protein, but to mix that up a little bit. And so, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so it comes down to the diet of that animal, basically. So if you're having grass-fed or organic produce, then that omega-3 profile is going to look a lot better. Mm-hmm. If you're having even conventional eggs, so cage eggs have a huge amount more of omega-6 than free-range organic eggs. So it all comes down to what that animal has consumed, what their lifestyle's been like, as well as to what the nutritional profile of that food will be as well.
Yeah, then if people are intolerant to gluten, and then the chicken is eating grains, then that can.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And then sugar, are you looking at just taking out processed sugar? Are you looking at low glycemic? What's your recommendation there?
Initially, if someone's really inflamed and infected, I will try to get them off as much sugar as possible. But in the long run, I think that it's mostly about your processed sugars and refined sugar. So, a little bit of honey, a bit of fruit, a little bit of fruit juice here and there is, it's packaged up with other nutrients and benefits. But refined sugar is usually the biggest culprit. But in initial stages, it's good to be as sugar-free as possible so that we can really work on improving that inflammation and blood sugar regulation.
And as far as, so we start with the elimination diet. Are you digging into that at all for your people, or what does that look like for you?
Yeah, an elimination diet of sorts at the beginning of the protocol is going to just help us work with a bit of a clean slate, reduce inflammation, improve gut health, gut immunity. Oftentimes I will recommend steering clear of gluten and dairy, as well as the sugar and the processed plant oils. But that isn't necessarily forever. Everyone is going to have different tolerance to different foods. And once you really do that healing work and come out the other side, so gut health is looking a lot better, skin is really nice and stable, hormones are happy, you can usually start to reintroduce these foods in moderation. I don't ever recommend going crazy on those sorts of things that can be a trigger in the first place. But yeah, I think making sure that you're not fueling the inflammation in the body by including a lot of those foods in the diet while you're working on an anti-inflammatory effect, then it can be really important.
Yeah, because for the elimination diet, we're taking out dairy, gluten, soy, corn, peanuts, and eggs. That's what we kind of start with. So if you're more, let's look at, is it the same kind of principles, or you're more like, wait a minute, let's do dairy, gluten, and sugar kind of start, and then if we have to tweak it a little bit, then we'll go from there?
Yeah, I would agree with you on the other things as well. Definitely. Soy, absolutely. If anyone's having soy and they've got acne, I'll always take them off that as well. So yeah, very, very similar principles. Just, keeping things really whole food, basic protein, fat, carbohydrates mostly coming from your vegetables. So just a clean diet as much as possible.
And then we'll talk about cystic acne, and then the link to parasites or yeast overgrowth, SIBO, hypochlorhydria. Like what are you seeing there?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so the role that your gut health plays in your skin is really integral. Your gut and your skin are both made of the same epithelial tissue, and they both have a microbiome. And if anything disrupts that microbiome, then pathogenic bugs like the candida and other things you mentioned, but as well as the acne bacteria on the skin, are able to then proliferate. I'm always working on gut health with every acne client and making sure that we are working to improve that biofilm and that microbiome in the gut, but also in the skin, and improving that barrier function so that the acne bacteria, which is on everybody's skin, is not able to proliferate and cause an issue. And that goes the same way with the gut. If you're having gut issues and skin issues, then we absolutely need to get to the cause of that too. Low stomach acid can mean that you are not breaking your food down properly, you're not absorbing your nutrients, and leaky gut can play a really big role in an autoimmune type picture. So sometimes when we're looking at thyroid health, and there is the common perception that if you've got leaky gut, then you've got leaky skin as well. So just drawing parallels with that microbiome in both the different areas. Eliminating candida, sorting out SIBO, improving hydrochloric acid levels, they're all really important in getting your hormone health and your skin back on track.
Yeah, and this is something that I had. So I had the low stomach acid, I had fungal overgrowth, I had I had a bacterial infection. I had H. pylori, and I definitely had the gut because I remember doing a food sensitivity test and everything, all my favorite foods were flagged as high. I remember going, what am I going to do?
Oh, no.
It was a disaster.
Always the way.
Yeah, exactly. And so are you seeing what tests are you running then for looking for gut health?
So comprehensive digestive stool analysis is something that I would run with particular clients. So that's something that assesses parasites, yeast, fungi, your commensal bacteria, so your good bugs as well. And so that can give us a good baseline of what's going on with anything that is causing an imbalance there. But I do find that working on liver and gallbladder health and improving hydrochloric acid production, that can be through improving nutrition through diet or natural medicines. Increasing that hydrochloric acid acts as a natural antibacterial for pathogenic bugs, and it's going to improve digestion, and it's going to increase your absorption capacity as well.
So doing something like apple cider vinegar or the digestive enzymes bitters, is that what you'd go, or what would you do there?
Normally I'm correcting zinc deficiency. So zinc and B vitamins are nutrients that are required to make hydrochloric acid. And then we want to be looking at including bitter and sour foods in the diet, like you mentioned. Yeah, zinc, I think, would be a really common link with acne clients because it's usually very low when there is infection going on in the skin.
And isn't there a zinc test on that where what's that one?
Yeah, so you can check on zinc status either through a blood test, or there is a zinc tally test. So that's a taste test. Depending on how metallic the taste of the zinc is, can measure the levels in the body. So I tend to run it through blood work because I'm doing that anyway. And I work online exclusively, so I'm not there in person to do these physical tests.
Mm-hmm. And so as far as nutritional deficiencies and then the link to acne, with people that have been on the pill, that's linked to nutritional deficiencies. So again, the chicken.
Definitely.
So,
yeah,
it's hard to know.
I think a really ironic one there would be that the pill depletes your magnesium and B vitamins, and those nutrients are really essential for estrogen clearance and estrogen metabolism, which is what the pill is generally increasing in the body. So that would be one thing to really have a look at is, are your estrogen pathways in need of magnesium and B vitamin support? They're also important for progesterone production, which again we know is a really important skin and anti-anxiety hormone. But common deficiencies I would see in acne clients, I mentioned zinc, but vitamin D would be a really big one as well. So that's, with our indoor lifestyles, we go from the car to the gym to the office where we're not getting enough sun exposure as we should to metabolize our own vitamin D. And we're generally not eating a lot of really nutrient-dense foods like liver, for example, is really high in fat-soluble vitamins like your vitamin D and vitamin A. We need vitamin A to absorb vitamin D. So improving your intake of those sorts of foods can be helpful. But sun exposure is a big one. And vitamin D is essential for skin immunity. If you're finding that your skin gets worse in winter, it could be a vitamin D issue. And then I just want to quickly touch a vegan diet as well, which can be really, really low in omega-3, which we spoke about before being anti-inflammatory, and protein as well. So protein providing those building blocks to repair and regenerate and keep blood sugar levels stable. So, not just vegan diet, I should say, but that would be a common diet that is low in those essential nutrients. That they would be sort of the commonalities that I would see, but I always will run testing to see what I'm working with each individual.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sort of we test, don't guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And we recommend kind of as those basic supplements, and magnesium, because I had Dr. Carolyn Dean on. She's a world-renowned expert in magnesium, and 85% of us are deficient. And I was deficient in magnesium, was regularly getting those leg cramps every day, and my eye was twitching. And
yes, yeah.
So that helps. And then the B vitamins, I was low on that as well. And also vitamin D. My vitamin D was not low, but we see this a lot with people that are our coaching clients. And regularly, I had Dr. Will Cole on the podcast, and he talked about the importance of vitamin D for hormone health and a factor in your immune system. And really, the functional levels are between 60 to 80, whereas the conventional levels, I think 30 to, this 30 to 100 is conventional. So a lot of people are saying, hey, your vitamin D is fine, but actually,
yes. I mean, in Australia, the reference range, it used to be 75 or less is deficiency, and because there was so much deficiency, and they base those reference ranges on the undiagnosed population, they brought it down to 50 or less is deficiency. So people who are coming in at 51 are not being flagged, yet for skin and hormones and mental health, 150 would be optimum. So that's what I'm always aiming for. So there's a huge difference between what is, your normal and what is optimum.
Yeah, and to dig into that piece and say we regularly see that as low. And also with all this, with the sunscreen, everyone's told when we go outside, we must wear sunscreen, and then we're not getting the vitamin D.
That's right. Yeah. So clothing, sunscreen, and sunglasses, because you do absorb through your eyes as well. They're all going to block that absorption. So lots of people feel like they're outdoors a lot, but if they're wearing that sunscreen, it's important at certain times of the day, but for a 15-minute period, you can safely get your sun exposure early morning or late afternoon to metabolize your own vitamin D. And that way it is free. You're making it yourself.
That's right. Okay, so stress and the connection to acne. What are some suggestions you have there?
Definitely. So stress and acne are on a little mouse wheel. So acne can cause a lot of emotional stress, and then that stress can feed into the acne cycle. So it's really important to try and break that cycle as best you can. Stress is going to, whether it's perceived stress or actual stress, it's going to cause the same hormonal reaction in the body. So elevated adrenaline and cortisol. And when we're constantly in this fight or flight, and this can be emotional stress, but also we want to think of physical stress as well. So not getting enough sleep, too much exercise, high intensity exercise, I should say, not eating enough, or eating, junk foods or poor nutrient dense food. These are all physical stresses as well, which can give the signal to your body that it is not safe to reproduce. So if the body feels like there is some perceived danger, there's a famine, it can stop you ovulating that month because it doesn't feel like it's safe to bring a child into the world. So stress has a huge impact on ovulation, fertility, your progesterone production, and these are all, progesterone is linked in with skin and fertility. So there are, definitely emotional and physical aspects of stress that we want to be addressing. I think that it's really important to find your thing. I don't ever tell anyone to do one specific thing. I give them a lot of different options to try and see what resonates with you to manage your stress and build resilience to stress. So that might be something like saying no to people or things that don't serve you, doing more of the things that bring you joy. So that might be going on a holiday or dancing or hanging out with friends, whatever it might be. Meditation, journaling, all of these things can be really, really helpful if done consistently. And that is the key, I think, to really calm that stress response, take us out of fight or flight and more into rest and digest. Some other modalities that I like to implement as well would be acupuncture and kinesiology. Two of my favorite things to recommend for managing stress better, and also having a bit of me time, which is super important.
What are you doing with the kinesiology?
I don't do it myself, but I refer to other practitioners. So such an amazing energetic treatment, which helps to just balance that physical in with the energetic. So it's based on the same meridians as acupuncture, It's actually been founded by a chiropractor. So you've got a little bit of chiropractic, a little bit of acupuncture, and some spiritual energetic work as well in there. So it tends to address a lot of that stuff that practitioners like myself can't necessarily get to. I'll be working on the physical stuff, and I like to refer my clients for that energetic support as well.
Yeah, the field of kinesiology has really taken off. Every last, my daughter's going off to university. Every one of her friends is taking kin, and
oh wow, that's great. That's so good.
Taken off. So, but yeah, body work. Okay.
Yes.
And then some supplement recommendations. We kind of touched on a few there. Any other ones that you wanted to mention?
Yeah, for sure. So I think it's important to say testing and not guessing is really important here, because everyone's needs are going to be different. But some common natural medicines that I prescribe would be zinc and vitamin D, like we talked about earlier. Sometimes fish oil if they really need that extra anti-inflammatory support, and they've had a long-term exposure to those polyunsaturated fatty acids. I often will work with Saccharomyces boulardii combined with lactoferrin. So Saccharomyces boulardii is a strain of yeast which competes with Candida in particular, but it also has this incredible ability to clear out pathogenic bugs in the gut and the skin at the same time, and sort of compete with those and proliferate your good bugs. So it's really helping to stabilize the microbiome in the skin and the gut. And the lactoferrin in there I find to be extremely helpful for cystic and inflammatory breakouts. It's really calming on the skin. And it also helps to absorb iron better, which is important for oxygen transportation to your skin cells too. For people who are just not into including things like offal, so grass-fed liver or other organ meats in their diet, I'll often recommend grass-fed beef liver capsules as a really nutrient-dense supplement to take.
I literally, when I recently thought, I should get some organ meats into my diet. Let me try some liver again. It should be fine. Oh my goodness. It was just, I remember how I cannot eat this. Now, my husband, in all fairness, he just fried it up, plopped it in with some, it was just done, not well.
Yeah, look, it's not everyone's cup of tea by any means. Yeah. Which is why it's great that it's available in such a pure form, encapsulated. So that it's a good way to go to get some extra nutrients into your diet. And it's particularly rich in vitamin D and vitamin A. So those fat-soluble vitamins for hormones and skin, super important.
Yeah, and we again, based on testing, we regularly will recommend the Saccharomyces boulardii as well.
Isn't it amazing? I think it's just one of the best supplements out there. I love it.
Mm-hmm. And so, what about some non-toxic skincare products? Anything that you're digging right now?
Yeah, sure. So I think when we're looking at toxins in particular in skincare, even the most expensive brands, the fanciest looking packaging, can still be full of a whole lot of really damaging chemicals. So not just to the skin barrier function, which can really strip the skin, but also to our hormones. So being aware of endocrine disrupting chemicals in your skincare is really important. So things like parabens, petrochemicals, fragrance can impact the way that your hormones behave, in particular estrogens. And I guess the two main ingredients that can be really stripping and harsh on the skin would be benzoyl peroxide, which is, you mentioned earlier, Proactive, which is basically bleach, and also sodium lauryl sulfate. So that's your foaming agent, which is basically a dishwashing detergent. So it's a really strong surfactant, but that can cause a lot of dehydration, but also congestion in the skin. So you really want to be looking for products that are void of those chemicals. But I think it's useful to know that because something is natural doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be helpful or good for your skin. So I actually work with a lot of dermal therapists around Australia, and I do have a couple of connections in the States as well. who are aligned with my skin philosophy, and I will refer to them to do the external work while I'll do the internal work. So working with someone who really understands skincare and treatments that are useful to you, I think can be a real game changer. So yeah, there's not one particular brand I would recommend. I think working with a practitioner who's going to understand your skin and your needs is super important. But in terms of looking out for those toxins, there's a really great website, which I'm sure you're aware of, Sarah, is the Environmental Working Group website, so ewg.org. Really great resource to do a cross-check on different ingredients. And that goes for ingredients in your food, in your cleaning products, in your skincare.
Yeah, you can go to the Skin Deep database. It's part of ewg.org, and then you can just pop in your product and see what the rating is, and you want it below 3.
Yes. Yeah. Great advice. Yeah. It's a really great resource.
And yeah, really starting to make the switch. It's not about throwing everything out all at once, but as your products start to deplete and finish, then you can replace it with with a natural one, and making sure that it's checked on the Skin Deep, because natural and organic could be greenwashing and maybe filled with chemicals.
Yeah, definitely something to be aware of there for sure.
And so do you have a favorite book or a website or an app, a documentary, anything that you're obsessed with you want to recommend?
So I have got a little list of people to follow on Instagram who just put out amazing content around women's hormones, and not necessarily skin in particular, but women's hormones, which is going to be a big part of treating acne as well. And a few of these amazing women have written books as well. So once you go down the rabbit hole of Instagram, you can find what they've written as well. So we mentioned Dr. Carrie Jones earlier. She is an incredible naturopathic doctor, and she is part of the founding of the Dutch testing. She has incredible content on her Instagram. She is super generous with what she gives out. Nicole Jardim, who is a women's hormone specialist in New York, who I've been doing some training with recently. She is amazing, and she's in the middle of writing a book.
Yes, she is.
It shouldn't be too far off. Nat Kringoudis is also amazing. She's a fellow Aussie, and she does a podcast with Nicole. So she's also written some fabulous books. Dr. Lara Bryden, she is also an incredible naturopathic doctor, and she has a book called The Period Repair Manual, and her Instagram is also super informative. And someone I've been following more recently would be Lara, the environmental toxin nerd.
Yeah.
She has some fantastic information about these endocrine disrupting chemicals that we spoke about earlier, and how to really clean up your lifestyle in terms of what products you're using and what you're exposing yourself to.
Awesome. Yeah, I follow all of them. And
good.
And Dr. Lara Bryden, I had her on the podcast, and we talked about her.
Brilliant.
Book. And I follow Lara, the environmental toxin nerd, and all of them. So yeah, awesome recommendations. Thank you.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
And a success story you'd like to share. I see on your Instagram, you have lots of success stories around skin. You wanted to share there.
I do. I've got one that comes to mind that's quite recent, actually, which really made my day. It was just such a heartwarming story. So this client came to me for her acne around 6 weeks ago, and she's had a really long history of extremely painful periods, to the point where she was having to go to hospital every month and get her parents out of bed in the middle of the night to take her to hospital. Extreme pain. And after a couple of months, 6 weeks or so, working on her diet, improving her nutritional status, improving her stress management, she had her first ever pain-free period. And she was so ecstatic about it that she called her parents, and her mum insisted that she put her on FaceTime so that she could see her dad dancing around the house and singing, "No more period pain, no more period pain." It was so elated for her that she'd had this incredible shift. So she has just made such incredible progress in such a short amount of time. And I think, it's not an uncommon story. Mm-hmm. It can certainly be done, but that particular story was just really heartwarming. Mm-hmm. And it, just reiterates the passion that I have for doing this work with women and really helping them to change their lives. It's really, really rewarding.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. And so the listeners can find you at clear_skin_coach on
That's
Instagram.
Right.
Anything to share with them they can find on your account? Things that you typically, I see you're kind of doing before and afters with people's skin, good quotes.
Yeah, for sure. So I try to upload as much content as I can keep up with in between clients. Mm-hmm. And I'm always open to chatting to potential new clients as well. If anyone is interested in working with me, you can head to my website. I have an online booking system and an option to have a complimentary mini session if you wanted to chat to me about where to start with your journey. So the website is clearskincoach.co if you wanted to have a look at the services that I offer.
Perfect. Great. Well, thanks for coming on, sharing your words of wisdom on this topic. It's such a great topic that I think people feel there's nothing they can do and they've got to be stuck with this acne on their face forever, when wait a minute, we actually look at this completely differently, heal the gut, and it starts to go away. So thanks.
Definitely. Yeah.
For coming on and for people that are struggling with infertility, they're listening to this podcast to know that acne is, as you were saying, is a red flag, and really dig deeper.
Absolutely. It's all about digging deeper and finding your whys. There's always a why. So thank you so much for having me. It's been an honor to be here.
Awesome. Thanks, Brooke. Hey there, I regularly speak with 5 to 10 couples per week who are struggling to have their baby. And although we want to help everyone, we only have 2 spots available per month to work with us. So the Supercharge Your Fertility Discovery Call is for action takers, really people who are ready to move forward so they can finally have their baby. And if you're not ready and you wait, the risk is you'll need to wait 2 to 3 months for a spot to open up. So if you're seriously considering working with us, go to Fab Fertile, FabFertile.com, and click on Book a Free Call. Then you'll be all booked in and ready to spend 30 minutes to give you the action plan to getting pregnant naturally. That's Fab Fertile, FabFertile.com, and click on Book a Free Call. The Get Pregnant Naturally podcast, including show notes and links, provides information with respect to healthy living, nutrition, lab testing, and is intended for informational purposes only. The information provided is not a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment, nor is it to be construed as such. We cannot guarantee that the information provided on the Get Pregnant Naturally podcast reflects the most up-to-date medical research. Information is provided without representation or warranties of any kind. Please consult a qualified physician for medical advice and always seek the advice of a qualified health care provider with any questions you may have regarding your health and nutrition program.